Okay, let's start this again because I hit a button. I don't want to hit no button. Okay, so heading back to Waynesport. Had come to Lafayette this morning, taking my husband in for a procedure. Took a little longer than we anticipated. I had to cancel a doctor appointment and stay with him, make sure he's all right. And so I finally got him all settled in the house and set him down and everything in the room that he possibly could want or need. How some men can be babies. Anyway, but I love him anyway. He's a good man and he takes good care of me, and that's really all that counts. And so this is a question that I'm having a hard time explaining to my granddaughter. Well, I'm not having a hard time. It's just a hard time for her understanding it. Why does God make death? I said, well, I don't think he makes death. I said it has to do with, when we were first created and Adam and Eve sinned. She said, well, I hate them. And I hate God because it's not right to let people die. Good point, huh? For a little girl. It's a little girl 11 who has a mind that thinks and thinks and thinks about things. She's not one of those who just settles for an easy answer, like so many are. But I'm kind of glad that she's that way, because I know she'll think through everything that she's exposed to, and she'll think twice before she makes a move. I'm going to try to get fun this good. Yeah? Okay, Teresa, you're good. I know, I've been driving like a fool today. It's a good thing I have a thing to hold my phone. Even though it jiggles around a lot, it makes it a lot easier. So, I'd like to hear from some of you guys how you explain that to your children. Why does God allow death? Because, he has 2 children, and this is what I told her. And this was just off the top of my head, because she doesn't give you any time to, think about it. She wants her answers, and she wants them now. And I said, you know what, Trinity? God does not make death. The devil does. And it began in the garden when Adam and Eve took of the only tree that God did not want them to take of. And he made that very clear to them. God gives us choices. And when we disobey, then there is consequences. This is the example I told her, and it kind of hit home with her, I think. I said, okay, Trinity, so let's say that God gave you the responsibility to be like Eve. That if you lived a perfect life and you never, ever, ever sinned, that there'd be no more death. That'd be a big responsibility. That means you have to think about every choice that you make. And there's so much out in the world today, I don't think that's even possible. But, what if that was a situation, if he put it up to you? What would you do? I think she's still thinking on that one. And so am I. There's a cycle of life. A time to live, time to die, time to rejoice, time to mourn. As an old 60 songs, there is a season, turn, 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 turn. And it does. It turns and it turns and it turns. And sometimes it turns in our direction, and sometimes it turns in the other direction. And I told her, I said, you know what? We just have to always make sure that the choices that we make are good. And just hope and pray that if we make a wrong decision, that God's grace is going to cover us. Because after all, that's why he died on the cross for us, in order that we can have life eternal with him. He shed his blood. When they talk about the veil was rent, that if you would look back in Old Testament history and realize how thick that veil was, it was like the toughest material that you could ever comprise. You know, I'm amazed sometimes at the things that they built in, the old days, because in the Old Testament, because they were like things that have lasted forever. And, it took a lot of manpower and a lot of man hours to build some things like Pharaoh's tomb, and all this stuff. I mean, unbelievable things that were built. But tonight, I know there's going to be a lot of other children there, and for some reason, I'm always the one that's talking with the children and trying to help them through, because all the parents are dealing with their own grief. And most of them I've already talked to and shared with and loved on. In some ways, this is going to be a hard one for me, because I remember Caleb and Junior and Dana and Melissa, they used to hang out on my front porch, and we'd talk and we'd laugh and we'd have so much fun just shooting the breeze and, teasing each other. And I remember sometimes Junior and I having long talks about God. And I do know that he had Jesus in his heart, and that he loved the Lord, and that he also wanted his children to know him. And I guess I want to have a chance to share that with the children tonight, because they have even asked me, Trinity asked me, do you think that Junior's in heaven? Boy, it's a tough one. And of course, I can only tell her that, yeah, I believe that Junior is laying and just jumped right into Jesus' hands the minute he died, because I don't know whether or not, Who knows? He might have talked to God that last second, and if he does talk to God that last second, that last breath, and cries out to him, yeah, he is with Jesus. We're so quick to judge people and say, well, they're not going to heaven. They died, and they're not going to heaven. And we don't know what was said in that last hour, that last minute, that last second. We don't know. And I think that's why sometimes at funerals they always give the positive side that, they are in heaven with Jesus. Well, and they don't go straight to heaven and all of that. For children, that's all that they can understand right